Step 9 is developing emergency procedures. Firstly, you will need to identify the emergency scenarios relating to your company and your company's activities. So how and where do you identify what emergency procedures need to be created? Well, from step 1 to 8, you should have the information you need to do so. As emergency procedures are going to relate to 1. Your place of work, so the sites you entered in step 1. 2. They will also relate to your activities, planned items and chemicals, so the items you entered in step 2 and step 6 and 7. In the previous step you identified hazards, so if one of these hazards or risks were to occur, what would be the emergency procedure if they did? Let's enter an emergency procedure. The Emergency Procedure Register can be found in the Policies and Planning section. Select Add New Emergency Procedure. You can relate an emergency procedure to a site or your global site. It's a good idea if you have multiple sites to develop emergency procedures for every single individual site. You've got scenarios, but you can actually add a scenario inside the system here if you wanted to. Like, for an example, chemical spill. But let's just select fire at the moment. You can enter a broad policy statement. Select next. You can develop a procedure for your emergency scenario by selecting on the plus sign. Enter the procedure, enter potential hazards, assess the potential hazard and the residual risk once the control measure has been implemented. And then you can keep on adding lines if you wanted to. You can also add alerting systems. So it's a good idea when going through this process, identifying what alerting systems you need. You might be lacking some already. Select the plus sign to add to your list. Then select next. Obviously, every single emergency procedure is going to need emergency equipment. In step 10, you'll be actually entering emergency equipment, but you can actually add to your list by selecting this icon here. Enter the emergency equipment's name, the previous maintenance date, the last time it was actually test and tagged or had maintenance undertaken, the next maintenance date due, and the person responsible to make sure that it's actually maintained. Save. It'll go into your list. Then select the emergency equipment needed for this scenario. This is a non-mandatory field, but you can actually put a drill date in here. This is the next drill date that needs to occur, not the previous drill date. And a review date to review the emergency procedure for continual improvement and the person responsible for the review. Select Submit. That'll put it into the Emergency Procedure Register, where you can actually select on the view icon to view everything that you've actually created. You can publish that in a variety of reports. But this register also links into the Emergency Equipment Register and also the Responsibility Register. In the Responsibility Register, which is coming up shortly, you've got fire wardens and so forth like that, first aid people. So you could actually relate those people to this scenario and it would be put onto the export of this PDF document for the emergency procedure. Okay, now select Next for the helper to take you through the process.